Hello, our dear viewers, and welcome to our special coverage for today's celebration, the events marking the 35th Cultural Symposium for the Armed Forces on the occasion of celebrating the Martyrs' Days. On this very special occasion, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi attended the celebrations marking this very special day. To shed more light on that, we are very much delighted to be joined over the phone by General Mohammed al-Shahawi, consultant for the Command and Staff College. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
General Shahawi, today Egypt and the armed forces mark the Martyrs' Day. What does this day mean and represent to the Egyptian armed forces?
First, it is such an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to be in this program.
It's our pleasure, sir.
Second thing, the celebration of the 53rd anniversary of the Martyrs' Day is considered an occasion to emphasize the idea of giving without return and the sacrificing the soul for the security and the safety of the homeland. Today, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi messages today in celebration of the Martyrs' Day are: first, the faith and patriotism are the two sides of the same coin. Second, the future of the nation can only be achieved through sacrifices and the blood of ministers. Third, the army is able to deter any agreed affect national security. Fourth, the golden general Abdel-Monem Ziyad is a good example in redemption and sacrifice, and he made his God as a merchant among his soldiers. What I want to shed a light about the secret of putting and using March 9 to celebrate Martyrs' Day. Although the history of Egypt is full of signs of heroism and redemption for our history, but the choice of March 1969 because it was a decisive day in the history of the Arab-Israel conflict, starting from the war of 48, the war of 56 and 57 war, the war of creation that lasted 1041 days until the October glorious war, which restored the Arab nation's stability and confidence. And March 9, each year, is chosen the Martyrs' Day to confirm full members of the armed forces wish for martyrdom, and we found that Lieutenant General Monem Riyad was a good example of heroism and redemption, and he went to the front line of the enemy.
Yes, indeed. General Shahawi, why is it important to mark the Martyrs' Day every year and remind the people of those who actually did sacrifice their lives for the sake of the homeland?
Before the martyrdom, he sacrificed by his soul to save the country and to save the national security. For the living, this celebration today is considered as an embodiment of the high principles and noble values of our rights who sacrifice their life to serve the security of the homeland. For this reason, there is an effort exerted by the state to support the families of the martyrs and the injured, including issuing of a rule to support them and naming their names of the martyrs in the streets of national service. Also, providing a scholarship for their sons and promoting their wishes.
Yes, General Shahawi, also President Sisi delivered a speech marking the Martyrs' Day as he attended the 35th educational symposium of the armed forces. How did you read and see the message here, which was delivered by the President in his speech today?
I think the most important message that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi gave it in this celebration is the faith and the patriotism are two sides of the same coin, and the future of nation can only be achieved through sacrifices and the blood of martyrs that we celebrate of them today.
Also, sir, the President said that there were attempts to take the country down, reiterating that the army sided with the people. What are your take on this statement by the President?
He said that each of whom has a soldier or non-commissioned officer or an officer or martyr. So all of us, all the nation, all the society participated in achieving the success of decontamination in the deterioration of all terrorists and also to liberate our land from Israeli occupation by October 73. And now we kill the terrorists by our army and police to save country and to enhance the force and development, sustainable development.
Yes, indeed. Also, General Shahawi, the President said that he had witnessed how countries can be destroyed. In your view, how this can happen and how that could be prevented as well?
Today we celebrate about the martyrs. We have to remember that there are many countries besides us. They suffer from unstable and insecurity. For that reason, Egypt is safe, it's secure, and there is a lot of achievements and national projects in all aspects of life, and also in all places of Egypt. For that reason, the martyrs who have the faith, who have the good example for saving the security and the safety of Egypt.
Yes, indeed. Sir, also the President honored the names of some health workers and doctors who sacrificed their lives in isolation hospitals during the coronavirus pandemic. How have you seen this move by the President?
The armed forces keep the national security, keep the secure of borders, keep the faith of life of our nation by taking measures to confront about coronavirus, and they make a lot of measures to combat this virus. For that reason, the armed forces as to keep the security and to keep the national security, also will keep the lives of the people.
Yes, indeed. Sir, also the President, after 50 years since marking the Martyrs' Day, is celebrating this very special event. Does this day still mean the same and carry the same significance in the present time?
I think it gives us a message that Egypt is honored. Everyone give an effort to secure and to build our country. For that reason, the Golden General Abdul Monem Riyad is a good example in redemption and sacrifice. For that reason, Egypt today celebrate all the souls of martyrs and their families by making a lot of things to them. This is a very good message to us that Egypt always give a hand to anyone who exists in the offer to build the best country.
Yes, indeed. General Shahawi, can you please elaborate on our late General Abdel Menam Riyad as Chief of Staff and military leader, how he moved up in the military ranks, and how do you see the role that he did play during his role in the army and serving in the Egyptian armed forces?
The Golden General, he participated in many operations as the combat of Al-Aish, also destroying of destroyer of Israeli destroyer, Emirates,
Yes.
and also destruction of 60% of all the Barley lines, and he made a plan for the October War, so that there are many glorious works he did while he is the chief of the Egyptian Armed Forces in the 11th of June 1967 until he mastered on 9th of March 1969.
Yes, indeed. General Shahawi, this takes us to mention here the patriotism of the Egyptian soldiers. Please tell us more example from history for Egyptian martyrs that history still remembers.
I think from all ages there are martyrs, from pharaonic age until to recent ages here today.
Yes.
And what we call about Arab-Israeli conflict until killing the terrorism and the ending them in Sinai. There are martyrs according to this file and the poor that reason to be safe and secure.
Yes. Finally, General Shahawi, what do you say about keeping the ritual of honoring the names and mothers of the martyrs on that very special day, the Martyrs' Day?
We give him help.
Yes, sir.
We stand behind the door, and all the families of the martyr.
Yes.
There is a lot to support them, their sons, and they give a lot of facilities to them because they sacrifice their souls to live in to build and be safe and secure.
Yes, indeed. Dr. General Mohammed Al-Shahawi, consultant for the Command and Staff College, thank you very much for your precious input, and happy Martyrs' Day for all the armed forces of Egypt. And President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi attended the events of the 35th Cultural Symposium for the Armed Forces on the occasion of celebrating the Martyrs' Day. President Sisi affirmed that martyrs sacrificed their lives in order to offer peace and safety for all Egyptians. The President also honored a number of the armed forces martyrs and their families. More details in the following story.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi attended on Wednesday the 35th Educational Symposium on the occasion of the Armed Forces celebration of Martyr and Veterans Day. The symposium comes within the framework of the celebrations of Egypt and the armed forces on the Day of the Martyr and the Veterans, which coincides with the anniversary of the martyrdom of Lieutenant General Abdel Menam Riyad, the former Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the War, on the 9th of March 1969. During the event, a short video about the sacrifices of martyrs from the armed forces was displayed, and the President delivered a short word towards the end of the ceremony. On March 7th, Armed Forces Association of the Veterans and War Victims held a press conference commemorating the Martyr and Veteran Day. The Veterans Association announced the activities of the Martyr and Veteran Day for this year. The Veterans Association director affirmed that the Armed Forces honors the memory of this day as it coincides with the memory of the martyrdom of the Lieutenant General Abdel Menam Riyad. The matter that embodies the national spirit and patriotism of the staunch Egyptians who made and shall forever make sacrifices in order to defend the country's security and safety throughout our long history. Those patriots who added weights, tons of glory and pride to our national registries, and shall always be a source of pride for the future generations of Egypt.
And with that, our dear viewers, we come to the end of our special coverage for today's celebrations marking the anniversary of the Martyrs' Day and the 35th edition of the Cultural Symposium, which was attended by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi.
Marking the Martyrs' Day, Minister of Defense General Mohammed laid wreath at the memorial of the unknown soldier in Cairo. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi had delegated General Zaki to lay a wreath at the memorial in Nasr City to honor the country's martyrs who gave their lives to preserve the nation. General Zaki was accompanied by the Armed Forces Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Mohammed Farid. Meanwhile, Minister Zaki delegated the heads of different military regions to lay wreath on unknown soldier memorial nationwide, accompanied by the heads of security directorates and regional governors. Martyr Day is celebrated on 9th of March every year, marking the martyrdom of the former Chief of Staff Abdel Menam Riyad on the date in 1969. Riyad was killed alongside several of his aides in an Israeli martyr attack during the War of Attrition. He had participated in several wars, including 1948 Palestinian War and the tripartite aggression against Egypt in 1956.